Well, hey, it's Rob, and so I'm sure you know O.J. Simpson passed away this week. He was clearly a polarizing figure and very famous and successful, and of course, very talented athlete in his day, and also most likely a murderer. So, if you lived in LA in the 90s like I did, it was a big deal. This trial went on for months and months and months. It was all that was in the news. It's like the equivalent of Donald Trump today. You just couldn't get away from him. And everyone had their theories and, you know, thought that, he was definitely guilty, or maybe they thought that, there was no way he was totally innocent, but he was in fact acquitted in the criminal trial, but then found guilty or liable in the civil trial. Got a huge judgment against him, which of course he never paid. But there are interesting theories. I mean, personally, there's a lot of evidence pointing to OJ, blood found on the scene, on the fence, and, in clothing and hair samples and things like that that matched up to OJ. I mean, how often do you cut yourself doing something? It happens once in a while. How often do you cut yourself and go to the scene of where a murder takes place? Doesn't happen very often. Coincidence? Could be. Kind of doubt it. But there are very interesting theories, and I'm not a conspiracy guy or whatever. Most people probably think that OJ did it. But I think he was definitely involved too. But there are some other players too, and some interesting stuff if you go down the OJ rabbit hole. And this is just stuff I've seen online or whatever. I'm no expert at all. I'm just trying to generate some content here this morning. But first theory is that his son Jason had something to do with it. Jason certainly had a troubled personality. He was a chef. He worked around knives. He had tried to stab one of his girlfriends a little earlier, I think, in the year. And by the way, it's been like 30 years since that slow speed chase. It was, I think, June or July of 94, so coming right up on 30 years. But Jason had a lot of problems. He was expecting Nicole Brown Simpson to show up at his restaurant where he cooked, and she canceled on him. It seems unlikely that, that set him off or whatever, but maybe it set him off that he showed up at her place to see why she didn't come to his restaurant or whatever, and found her with Ron Goldman and flipped out. I don't know. But, there are people who say there's evidence that points to him. A knit cap that was found was a kind of cap that he wore. And like I said, he had a real familiarity with knives. He was on medication for anger problems. And again, had, I think, stabbed his girlfriend recently. So it's entirely possible that, OJ came on the scene and his son was already involved in this crime, or who knows. It's been going around for a long time. And, there's a book that's been written about it. Another interesting theory is what was going on at Mezzaluna restaurant. I think that was owned by a guy named Keith Islamzovich. And that was the guy that OJ caught Nicole with sitting on the couch, and involved in some sort of tawdry activity. But not only was the owner mixed up in who knows what, but apparently a bunch of the waiters were too, and there were rumors that there was a lot of cocaine, trading hands at the restaurant, or it was a hub for cocaine, who knows. But before Ron Goldman was killed, another waiter was killed. And then after Ron Goldman was killed, another waiter was killed in random crimes or whatever, or crimes that were never solved. After that, I think 2 more waiters were kidnapped, and one had his car set on fire. Something was going on with that Mezzaluna restaurant. It was well known that there was a lot of cocaine activity in Denver. That was the other location of Mezzaluna, and, transferring stuff back and forth. And I think Ron Goldman had been in Denver, and other waiters went back and forth or whatever. Not sure about that part, but very mysterious. Mezzaluna didn't make it maybe a year after the Simpson trial went out of business, maybe for the best. So, again, who knows what really happened in this situation. Most likely OJ was involved in some way, shape, or form, and the evidence points to that, but there may be more to the story, and maybe with OJ's death, we're never going to know, but yeah, or maybe someday we will find the truth of what really happened to that very famous crime in Los Angeles that took place pretty much 30 years ago. We're coming up on the anniversary. All right, that's what I got for today. Makes you think, huh? Later.